Hi, welcome to this brand new show. This show is called the D and N Show. What are we going to discuss in this show? This is going to be a lifestyle platform. In fact, it might be your DNA. Even though the show is called D and N, it could be your DNA. It's a lifestyle platform where we will be discussing anything to do with life and things to do to improve your life. I am Nira and
I am Dian.
now you know why we call it the D and N Show. I hope you will enjoy this platform. You will subscribe and give us feedback on what you would like to cover in the platform. As long as it's something to do with your lifestyle, we are ready to go. So Dan, what are we going to discuss today or in our program?
Nira, this platform is a lifestyle platform. And the lifestyle, as you said, about anything and everything, we have prepared 4 dynamic topics for the first 4 episodes. Today we will start in a few minutes on the theme of sports. We have fantastic personalities presenting the case for sports in Sri Lanka, how we are going to make world champions out of Sri Lankans, made in Sri Lanka world champs. So today's theme is going to be sport and making Sri Lankan world champs. Then next week, that will be 22nd. So what we are doing today is 15th February. Here we are with you live. And on the 22nd, we will come to you with the second episode. That, Nira, is men from Mars and women from Venus. But the topic is not war. It is working in harmony. Men and women working in harmony. Then we have the third episode. The third episode is mindfulness. Mindfulness, mind focus and alertness to succeed in life. How are you going to succeed? Mindfulness is the key. Focus of the mind and alertness. That is our third episode. Then we have the fourth episode. What do you think? We are going to talk about the now generation. Generation Z. Generation Z. All those born between 1995 and 2010. And these people, this youth, is the key to the future. 20 years time, you and I won't be here, Nira. But Sri Lanka will be here, and Sri Lanka will have a lot of burden to carry. And that burden we want to ease right now, preparing Generation Z to take Sri Lanka to a developed country, making world champions. And this show is not about D and N, it's about us, you and us. So that's what we're going to do, Nira, in these 4 episodes coming up.
Now you know what's coming up, right? That was like a trailer, small trailer. So what you have to do is you have to program your electronic diaries, your schedule. So every day when the D and N show is there, when you wake up in the morning, D and N, you watch that and your day is done. You have a successful day.
Are you travelling to Sri Lanka? We are fully geared to assist with all your travels. Classic Sri Lanka, your trusted travel partner.
Hi, the day has come, the time has arrived. 15th February, the launch of D&N Show. D&N Show. The DNA lifestyle platform is with you in your living room, in your boardroom, in your veranda. We are with you because this show is about you and us. It's not about us, it's about you and us. So, episode 1, where do we begin? We are right now beaming to you from the NOC, National Olympic Committee Sri Lanka Auditorium Lounge. That's where we are. And we have 2 very special guests with us. Why? The theme is sports, the importance of sport and how Sri Lanka can make world champions in the future. The first panelist that we have today is Mr. Suresh Subramaniam. Mr. Suresh Subramaniam is the President of the National Olympic Committee in Sri Lanka. He is a past President of the Sri Lanka Tennis Association. He held several posts in the Sri Lanka, in the Tennis Federation in the world. He will tell us about that later on. And also he is the Chairman and Managing Director of Arrow International Private Limited. Of course, he's an old boy of Royal College, and I would say that's the second best school because I'm from St. Thomas's. That's a different matter, different argument. But we're back to the panel today, and we have the first panelist, Mr. Suresh Subramaniam. He's a man of many aspects. He's a great businessman, fantastic administrator, a former tennis champion, and a single-figure golfer for many years. Excellent sportsman. And our second panelist is...
Our second panelist this morning is Mr. Ana Punchiheva. He was the president of Sri Lanka Cricket in 1995-1996, the year that Sri Lanka won the World Cup. He has also been a past president of the Sri Lanka Golf Union and has represented Sri Lanka for 10 years in golf. Professionally, he is the past CEO, formerly the CEO of Pure Beverages, the representative in Sri Lanka for Coca-Cola. Now he is an old Anandian and also from Millfield College, UK. So Diane was touching about the best school, the second best school. So we have a Royalist here, we have a Thomian here, and we have Anandian here, and I am a Trinitian. But we are not going to discuss that today. Maybe later on, we'll have another lifestyle platform on schools. But today, focus is on sports.
Let's get started with the program. Our first panelist, Mr. Suresh Subramaniam. Sir, I would like to ask you, warmly welcome you to the DNA platform, lifestyle platform, and the D&N show. And we want to know from you, sir, as the president of the NOC in Sri Lanka, having held prestigious positions in the world of tennis, having been a national tennis player, being a good golfer, being a sportsman yourself, being a very successful businessman, you have deservedly been appointed as the NOC chief in Sri Lanka. We want to know from you, sir, tell us, what is the role of NOC in Sri Lanka in terms of all the sports that you are handling here, and what is your focus in terms of being NOC, and what are your plans, what could you do to create a world champion, say an Olympic gold medalist in track and field or a world champion? What do you have for us? What can you tell us? And what is it that you would like D&N platform to do for you in your quest to make NOC Sri Lanka successful, making Sri Lankans world champions? Over to you, sir.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you very much for having me, and it's a great honor to share the platform with this legend. So thank you very much. You had asked a very valuable question, but it will take one whole day to answer. Let me give you very, very important thing. I was only sharing the way I got into NOC. I still say it's by accident because I was never a part of Olympic movement nor the committee, because my sport and my love was tennis. So when I took over tennis president, tennis was at the lowest end. So my intention was to bring tennis back to where time we were playing, so which I achieved in 5 years. So we had an excellent committee. Late Tifon Miranda was one of my vice president. Late Arjen Parra was one of my vice president. They actually spent a lot of time with me to see how tennis can be brought forward. That set the stage for the rest of the sports to realize this is the man who can do something for Olympic Committee. And I was invited by none other than Mr. Hemasri Fernando. I can tell you from the time I took over, he only told me, you take over, there is no work to be done. After I took over and I realized there is so much work to be done. And I had taken the challenge. The first thing I did was, there were a lot of allegations prior to me taking over on the accounts. So I was trying my level best to clear those, because everything must be cleared and cut and dry, otherwise we will have a lot of problems. Then we looked at it where we are going wrong. If I may say, no insult to anybody, after this great man left, we are going to celebrate 25 years of cricket. Are we going to produce champion once in 25? When you look at Olympics, Susantika won in 2000, 21 years ago. So, what we are thinking and what the idea behind all this is, there is no proper structure. So it is the individual ability of few selected officials who are committed had created the champions up to now. There is no pathway for these champions. So that is the first thing I did. So after I got involved, you would have realized there was a campaign for safe sport. That is the biggest problem in this country. When I say safe sport, that includes sexual harassment, bullying, and also there is a lot of things about parental mismanagement of the children or the sponsors. So there were a lot of things comes into that. So we are looking at that. So the parents are comfortable sending their children for sport. That is the biggest issue that we have. Today, unfortunately, a lot of the Colombo kids are well-to-do kids who parents can afford to spend for their sport, don't send the children because they don't have a chaperone to go with them. Today, both parents are working, so they are not sending the children. They are talented. If you look at it, the parents who have done very well in their sport, their children are not doing anything, not because of anything else. This is one of the biggest problems they are facing. So, if I may touch a little bit sensitive topic, recently I saw a report where former cricketer Pramodya Wickramasinghe, if I remember right, making an allegation against the players. If it was Olympic sport, he would have been taken for task, because he was basically bullying the players. He had given the wrong information to the world, which is wrong, and he couldn't prove anything. So that type of person has no chance in the Olympics. No chance. Because if I don't take action, International Olympic Committee will find fault with me for tolerating. So whenever he said something, he was not part of the Olympics, so he escaped. Now coming back to the main topic. So we found in the school structure, there's an excellent school structure for sports. Take cricket, take rugby. Now what is happening? When they finish the schools, when they leave school, most of them are looking for higher education, which is fine. Some of them are going for employment because they have to support the families, brothers and sisters and their parents. So this is the time we are getting involved, and now we have got involved. In fact, 2 weeks ago we signed up with the top Sri Lankan athletes all over, whatever sport, the top notch, giving them 40 to 50,000 rupees a month. We have selected 12 till they achieve their target. So that we have told them, you don't worry about going to work, support their family. We are supporting, you only concentrate on the sport. So which we are trying to increase it to another 24 during the year. So we have signed up with a company called Crispo. So after I took over, the great thing is I was able to attract a lot of sponsors. Crispo is one, Mars Holding, Brandix Holding, Hydramani, Akbara Brothers, Metropolitan. They have been supporting me. In fact, they had supported me when I was with tennis. So having experienced that, they straight away came to support me. So financially we are okay. But you see, now touching about financial matter, because some of our audits are done by the government auditors. He questions, last year you made profit, this year you are making loss. We are not a profit-making organization, and I am not there to show that I made 100 million profit. I am here to show how many children have benefited from sport, how we are going to earn medal. That is my job, not to save money. So whatever we are getting, we are finding ways of helping these kids. One good example is the 2018 when we had the Youth Olympics. We had a girl called Parami from Chila. Her father was earning something like 2,500 rupees a month to support 5 of them. So when she got selected and I went to see her running steeplechase, I remember she saying that she is used to running without shoes, whether she could run. I said, do whatever way you want. There is no hard and fast rule whether you wear shoes or not. So she had a culture problem. Everybody was wearing shoes, whether she should wear shoes. So I told her, if you want to do it, because if she has a doubt going on to the race, whether I should wear, whether I should not wear, her focus would have been on the shoes and not the championship. So I had to change her focus. So I told the coach, look, tell her she can do anything. But if she want to wear shoes and satisfy her, let her run with the shoes before, a couple of days before, try it out. If she is comfortable, then it is off her mind. So she ran with the shoes, she got a bronze. Now when she came back, I on a personal level started helping her monthly, because she had a coach who was helping personally, because they were very poor to train. And she was, when I asked her, she said she used to run in the coconut estate barefoot. You can imagine, she's tough girl. Then unfortunately, the background is such, she got injured. Of course, they started the native medication and that injury got back to worse. So she had just recovered after almost a year from her injury. Because when we got to know why did she didn't take part in the national, then only we realized she was injured. But she was hiding from us that she was injured. So now, then of course, she had brought to Colombo and now she is okay, she started training. So there are a lot of people like that. When they come to Colombo, most of these children outside Colombo, this is a new world. They think this is a new place. So they have to get used to. And when they go to a overseas event, it's again a new world. So first they have to get used to the environment. That's one of the reasons all the major events, they go so many days early to get used to the system. So now we have to do the continuity. Now when these children goes up, we are picked up these kids, we are training them. You must know it is we can't do alone. There are 3 pillars works here. National Olympic Committee, National Federation and the Ministry of Sports. Now in fact, we have started the junior development program. I had brought in education ministry also. When you say junior development program, children. So sometimes it's a 3 pillars or 4 pillars. We have to work inside. The first meeting is next week. The Professor G.L. Piris and Honorable Namal Rajapaksa are coming to look at how we are going to move. It's a huge, daunting task, but it is not impossible. We all have to work on the same wavelength. If all of us are working on the same wavelength, I can tell you, I may be wrong, I am subject to correct. If this gentleman had continued one more term, we would have been in a different place. With whoever in the federation who took over, only looking at himself, personal interest. That's what has killed the sport. So I'm sure with the current minister being a sportsman, he's trying very, very hard to change the culture, change them. Look, sports is one way to move forward. I still remember when we don't have much tennis players, but I can say Sri Lanka Tennis Federation in 2004 was awarded the best run association in the world under my presidency. And 2003, sorry, vice versa, 2003 by the International Tennis Federation and 2004 Asian Tennis Federation. So I'm very, very proud to say today I am having the tennis background. My secretary has a tennis background. My finance man from the tennis background. And even in the national selection committee, Arjun Fernando tennis background. So everybody knows where tennis is involved, no hanky panky. But unfortunately, if I touch on the tennis subject, most of the tennis players come from a very affluent class. So their priority number one is education. Priority two may be sports. But the good thing that the Sri Lanka Tennis Federation has done last 21 years is you can be sure every child who plays tennis and get the local ranking is assured of a scholarship in USA. So at least we are sure the children will be educated. That is a plus factor where children are definitely playing tennis. So we have excellent junior players, but not the top level because they go for education. So I'm very proud to say there was a guy called Franklin Emmanuel. He beat Nishikori, the Japanese number one, when they were under 14 players in Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, Franklin got a scholarship and went to study. Nishikori also went to Florida only to play tennis. So today that's a two different thing. So likewise, I am using the same yardstick and the same thing for sports, other sports. Where there is talent, we go to nurture the talent, but nothing comes free. My always concept is you give them the fishing rod, it is up to them to fish. So that is my concept, whether it's my business or whether it's my sports, same thing I do. If somebody comes for my help, a lot of these professional golfers, I have brought them golf stick, whatever they want, every time I bring them, a lot of people. I tell them, you have to win, then balance, let's talk about it. They could afford to buy the stick, fair enough. God has provided us, we will help them, but it's up to them to win. We can't do that. So I don't tolerate or I don't believe in excuses. That's another thing, a lot of people, they are always having excuses. When they lose, there is an excuse. Either the course is bad or court is bad, the ball is bad or administrators are bad. I'm telling you, this, I have gone through this. There is no time for excuses. It is for them to know why you lost, what is the reason. Other man won. Until you know that, you will never make the champion. You will never make a champion. So those are the guys who become champion. If you ask them why did you lose, if the man giving an excuse, you must know that he is not going to make it. He is only looking for excuse. If the guy says no, the other man played well, then that is the man you got to work on. That is in him to say that. So those are the few things I am looking for. We have excellent. So coming to this Olympic, which was postponed by a year, in the athletic field, we haven't still not qualified. Chances are there we may qualify into 4 into 400. But we are, this time something new. We are qualified in the gymnastic, qualified in the judo, equestrian, we are almost there, but there is some trial run is going. So I decided don't concentrate on athletic and swimming. That is the mistake we made. Those are flagship sports. Yes, but competition is also high. What about the others? See, this is one of the reasons last Asian Games some people found fault with me that I was promoting every sport to participate. Because it is easy for us to sit in the air-conditioned comfort and decide today athlete is going, tomorrow cricket is going. No. Every child who takes up sport, they want to play the sport. Halfway through, some of them give up. The guys who did not give up want to represent the country. They are spending, their parents are spending money, they are spending their time. Some of them had only not given up their studies, but some of them are doing balancing both. How can we decide that sport is better than this sport? No, you've got to give them opportunity. If you give them opportunity, somebody is going to come up. Forget, not only athlete, we must support, but you have to. So I was able to convince then Minister Faisal Mustafa and said, look, I will find the money, you got to send over. So he agreed. He wrote to every federation. Every federation sent. Now, the important thing is, when they came back, I was able to hold a gun on the presidents and said, you had an excuse all this time, you didn't participate, so you couldn't win. This time you participated, what did you win? So we were able to establish a base now. Now start from there. Really the base should start from SAF game, but SAF game we are quite good. So some of them, when they win bronze and silver, they are very happy about it. So we fixed the base with the Asian Games. So now our target is, look at the Asian Game target. Now you go to work. Then let's talk about the Commonwealth and the Olympics. So that is how we are moving. It has to be step by step by step by step. The other thing is, I had got Susantika Jayasinghe as the director high performance here. She won the silver in Australia. He never made use of it. Of course, couple of years also she participated. After she gave up, they never made use of it. There's something in her, she's a great orator, she could motivate them very well. So I had got her. I had told her before a championship, talk to these girls and boys, motivate them. We need to do that. What are them? No, it's sad. Nobody other than you, today first time going to ask this man what he did to win. Nobody had ever asked him. That's something that he did right for 95, 96. It's a teamwork, but end of the day, leader did something right to move forward. After that, what has happened? Today, even this morning paper I saw, they are talking about one of the selectors. What he had done, So it's sad, when you look at it, each one had his own agenda. So you see, this is what the problem is. No, you see, what you should know is there are rules. We are not implementing them. There were rules that gaming, if you are involved in gaming, you can't hold office. Some of them are holding office. But it won't happen under me. It will never happen. I believe rules are written for a purpose and we got to implement. And I am not a lawyer to interpret the law. I am there only to implement the law. That is my forte and everybody knows. Wrong is wrong today, is wrong tomorrow, and it will be wrong forever as far as I am sitting. There is no way wrong will become right because I have got friendly with somebody that never happened. You can check with anybody, wrong or right, he remain right or wrong right through. I don't change that. So anybody is very easy to work with me. They know everybody. My rules are very clear. And we have one ambition, and all of them know, is to make Sri Lanka great. If we don't have talent, it's different. We have abundance. I'm sure Anna will let you know in future. So with that, if I haven't clarified anything, please feel free because your question was very long.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suresh Subramaniam. Your answer was comprehensive, not long enough because till we win the medal, it's still an answer to come. But what I have picked up from what you have said is discipline is the key. You have a system where you follow a method and you are disciplined and you want to make sure that something is going to happen. And the other thing I picked up from you, which I'm very happy about, is that you said irrespective of the sport, a medal is a medal. If it's a recognized sport and you win a gold, it's a gold. Therefore, your thinking is spot on. We are very happy for that, and we will talk later in our panel discussion a little bit more. But now we have to go on to the second segment, and Nira, it's your stage now.
Covered both sports and the Olympics, and it seems to be that the last time we got world recognition was with Susantika about 21 years ago, and the last time we got recognition for cricket was 25 years ago when you were the president of Sri Lanka Cricket. Now, what has happened? I mean, the country they say is developing, but our sportsmen, women are not developing. We are not keeping up to what we were internationally. So that is quite worrying. So what I would like you to just share with us is if we were so strong 25 years ago, why are we not that strong today? And after that, maybe we can just have a panel discussion with both gentlemen and share their ideas to see how we can take Sri Lanka right to the top again as soon as possible.
Okay, first of all, thank you for asking me to come on the show. I'm very happy. And I must clarify one thing. I was a legend 25 years ago, but we have a legend here in front of us, a modern day legend. So really, you can't compare what I did and what Suresh is doing now. I mean, what Suresh is doing is great. He is not doing one sport, he is the whole gamut. Cricket is also a Olympic sport, am I right?
Correct.
So is golf, and so anyway, he's doing a great job. First, I would like to say how I got involved in cricket, directly and indirectly. First was when I was marketing director at Rio Burgess, Coca-Cola. We used to sponsor school cricket tournament and limited over and the two-day tournament. Then we sponsored clubs, Division 1 clubs. And then through that, so I was involved in an indirect way. And of course, in 94, when Honorable Gamini Sarnaika came back as the board president, he was there for 10 years before that. And then he asked me, Anna, would you like to be my vice president? Because we were family friends, my parents and he was family friends, and he was a lawyer, my father was a lawyer. And then I said, well, why me? I mean, why do you want me to? No, you have a lot of connections with the clubs through your sponsorships. And, you also have done, before that, in 93, I built the Hall Stadium, was those days, just a small little pavilion with 1 or 2 wickets. So I can remember that time, Minister Foil Gore, Rupa Kanatilaka, ambassador, he was at a dinner at my place with the other business guys, and he told them, Tyrone Fernando also was there. Then Rupa asked, Tyrone was the sports minister, why are you taking all the international measures to Mathura? Why don't you play in Gore? Then Tyrone said, no, it's not up to international standard. Well, history has it that then Rupa turned to me and said, Anna, will you help me find sponsors? And well, that's how it started. Then we built a 10-wicket strips, cricket strips, which Sandy Dyson did. When we built that current pavilion was built by us. With the changing rooms upstairs and everything there, and the commentary box and the side screen. And of course, at that time we had to raise about 10 million rupees, a lot of money. And Rupa also had a lot of companies together, and we did it. But just after the tsunami, they spent 700 million rupees to renovate it. And the basic structure was all there anyway. So anyway, that's how I got into cricket. And then under Gamini, I learned a lot. And first thing he told me was, Anna, the Cricket Council, EXCO, is more difficult to handle than the cabinet. And he said, now you remember that because he had 10 years experience now as a cabinet minister and more powerful cabinet ministers. And he said, well, you will see me how I handle the committee. But unfortunately, he only could come because he was at that moment contesting the presidential elections. And then he used to come for a couple of meetings when he came. So while he was the vice president under us and he was running it, and then unfortunately he was assassinated. And then there was elections the following year, 95, he was assassinated in 94, and then I was elected uncontested. So really, in a way I was thrown into the deep end as such. And I thought, right, I don't know much about cricket. I was basically an administrator. As Dan said, my first love was golf. Cricket was an accident. Pleasant accident, but it was this thing. So I said, right, okay, now what do? I said, right, okay, we set a vision. The vision was to be the best cricketing nation, underlying the cricketing nation by year 2000. Then everyone said, this guy's mad. He does not play cricket and he doesn't know anything. Why doesn't he say we want to be the best nation in Asia first? Why is the world? I mean, we are nowhere. We are 8th place, number 8 or 7th, the last in the ICC rankings. Bangladesh and Zimbabwe didn't have test status. He should have said, no, we want to be the 5th position. Then I said, no. Why I'm saying that is, I believe our players have the talent. More talent than Australia, England, West Indies, South Africa. It's just that our players think we are not good. So that mentally they go in and say, we are going to lose it. We can't beat them. So I told the players, right, no, you can. This is why I'm saying this. I'm not mad, maybe you can call me mad, but just try this and see. Then we went to New Zealand straight after, about a month after. At that time, Dave Watmore had not come. And then we won the first test abroad, and first test series abroad. Then we won the first time ODI series in New Zealand. And then I came back and I said, I want a foreign coach. So of course everyone said, why? What's wrong with Sri Lankan coaches? I said, well, they're good, but I want this, they get too familiar with the players, you know, the Ayam Malli culture that develops. So I said, no, you can't, that's not up for discipline, like Suresh says, you know, discipline is very important. So I know a lot of people were against it. And West said, I won't name the names, but eventually I asked the test playing countries for 2 names to nominate 2 guys from their countries who could be a potential coach. Because England, Australia, England nominated Ian Botham, he wanted $1 million. That was in '95. Alan Border also wanted something like that. So I straight away this thing. Then I saw this from Australia. Dave Watmore, we thought that sounds familiar. Mother was elocution teacher.
Wendy
Watmore.
That's the mother.
Yes. So then I looked only 10 test matches and 3 or 4 ODIs, but that's never mind. But the main thing that struck me was he was coach of the Victoria State, head coach. And I said, right, no, I have the best of both worlds with him. His heart is in Sri Lanka, and he has all modern coaching techniques. I said straight away, I told the committee, right, I want him. And then say, okay, how much? They asked me, because I asked Dave after that how much he wanted. He said he wants $100,000 for the year, all the expenses, all included the expenses. Then they said, we don't have money, because when I got into the cricket board, there was only 300,000 rupees in the bank account. Rupees, huh? Not dollars. So they said, how are you going to find the money? I said, no, wait, I will find it. I know we will get it. I believe. Mind if you believe, 90% of the battle is won. So then I told our representative in Australia, Dr. Quintus De Silva. Quintus, I told Quintus, I need this money, I need 100,000. You have to find it for me. And Quintus said, okay, let me try. So every day I'm calling him. Now I have 3 weeks to go, Dave is coming. No money. So he said, I'm trying. Then 1 week before, he calls and tells me, I got the money. I said, from whom? The Australian Cricket Board. I said, what? Australian Cricket Board. They said, you all have the test match series coming. That's a controversial one where Murali was called for chucking.
Yeah.
That one. They had Tyrone Fernando had got 100,000 guarantee money. They made it 200,000.
Okay.
But they said, don't tell anyone. It's a secret. I said, fine. Thank you very much. And I ran the office to prevent and beat them in the final. So I told Dav. And then Dav came. Then I got Dav, Dulit Mendis. I made Dulit Mendis also chairman of selectors and the manager. So I thought that had to be there, because if not, the manager will blame the selectors will blame the manager. And I know it was tried again. Unfortunately, that was not a success. It was tried after that. And I got together Arjuna, Arvinda, Dav, and Dulip, and said, and Anura too, just to see eye roll at them, because Anura was Anura Tenokon was my secretary, honorary secretary. And I said, you're young, you guys. Now you all, I don't know anything about cricket. This is my vision. I want to be the best cricketing nation in 2000, and I want for us to get there. And I won't interfere. My committee won't interfere, I won't interfere. And I don't know anything about cricket anyway. I will do the administration. You tell me what you want, I'll give it. But I want results, like Suresh said. I said, I want results. End of the day. Not anything. So Dav, 2 days later, tells me, I want Alex Honturi as a physio. I said, how much? $80,000. Back to Quintus, Dr. Quintus, and said, Quintus, I want 80,000. I said, Quintus, why don't you try that Victoria Sri Lanka association? And I said, Errol Handy was the president then. He will help you. So anyway, Errol called the next day and Dave after that told me, Anna, I will give you the 80,000. So now Alex Honturi got married to a Sri Lankan girl and now he's coaching, the head coach of the Australian head physio. And he also made a big difference. He put the discipline in. And he made sure and that on the field, our fielders used to save 30 to 40 runs every match. So yeah, so that was the team that took us forward. Of course, then I had a 5-day workshop, or 4-day workshop, strategic plan, 5-year plan to achieve the mission statement, or the vision. I went to the beach and it was organized by Sri Lanka Distance Development Association. And Charitra Totta was the chairman of that. And we got Arvinda Diswa, Arjuna, they all came, Amrit Ennapon, Michael Tissera, Ranjit Fernando, then we had Manila, who was also on my expo, then Dham Vimasena, who was the vice president, and then we had a cricket umpire, Katie Francis. And yeah, so it was very successful. Of course, my vice president and 2 vice presidents, Arvind Dunvila from Canby, Washington, and Tilanga Sumidipara. Of course, I had got a photograph the other day of the workshop we had. And then looked, one notable absentee there. It was Tilanga. We were not there in the photograph. Anyway, be as it may. And so that's what happened. And everyone, when we won the World Cup, said, no, he's saying what? He said 5 years. You did it 1 year. I said, no. I said, we need to be the best cricketing nation in the year 2000. Not cricketing nation means test cricket and ODI. We did that T20 then. I know subsequently we won the T20 in the year 2011. Anyway, that's the story.
Thank you, Anna, for that very, very detailed description of how we achieved that status for cricket. And now let's open for our discussion, panel discussion. Dan, would you like to start?
Yes, thanks, Tara. My first question is to you, Suresh. I would like to know, how many sports do you have coming under the NOC Sri Lanka that you are actually considering as Olympic sports? And out of those, by now I'm sure you have done a study to see whether every sport that is in your list, whether there is a federation, association, and whether they are up and running. And have you shortlisted to see what are the sports that can really make a world champion right now? Say for example, we had a world billiards champion in 1970, MJM Lafayette. Is there not a possibility of another billiards champion or a snooker champion? Then what about the game of chess? We had Vajira Pereira, who beat Vishwanath Anand from India twice. Vajira Pereira went to America and became an engineer. Vishwanath Anand went back to India and became world champion in chess. So we had that in our hand, nothing happened. And now we have a 16-year-old world junior chess champion who is now 18 years old. I tried to get him on our show for the future. Mother is a doctor. He says he's studying, he's doing A-levels. So he's focused on A-levels. But this is a potential world chess champion because he's already won the world junior. So my question to you, sir, is are you doing an investigation with your machinery here to find these intricacies, and how can you produce in those sports? Give us a small synopsis.
Very valid question, Diane. We have 34 registered Olympic sports under us. However, with the ministry, there are 71 or 72 two sports in the island. So out of the 34, you will be surprised, very recently, I believe, last expo, even skiing, snow skiing is part of us. And last winter sport, Sri Lanka represented there. Some of the children who are overseas, we gave them a chance to represent. So we have the winter sports coming up next year, and China had agreed that they will give a wild card for Sri Lanka. So you'll be surprised. Though we don't have winter, we try and encourage children who are overseas to participate. The important here is participation is the most important. Because we talk about champions. You find champion when there is participation.
Yes.
Otherwise, no champion. So the more participation, chances are there these champions not only become local champion, become international champion. You know, when we did a study, to win one Olympic medal in a sport, we need 50,000 sportsmen in that sport to win one medal. So you see, that is
the ratio.
That is the ratio. So we need, otherwise we got to participate in the international competition. The locally competition won't do. Now, if you are participating in the international competition, we have to follow international rules. That is the rules laid down by IOC. If I slightly touch, Anna said that cricket has come into Olympic sport. Yes, 2028 there is a T20 in LA. Cricket is part of it. From the time ICC informed IOC and when IOC agreed, every country that is, they informed the rest of the world about cricket. The main 8 or 10 countries that play cricket, they have to fall in line with IOC. They have to fall in line with the National Olympic Committee. So at the moment, the most topic that is discussed in the press, you would have seen about the selection. I am part of that now. So some of the questions that I am raising at the selectors past and the cricket board, I don't think it is very palatable, the questions that I am raising. But that is my job. Otherwise I can't sit as NOC president. I have to be transparent. Unlike here that I told some of them, you may do something wrong, you can survive in Sri Lanka. In my case, I got to cross the water. I am answerable to IOC. I don't want what happened to Blatter or the IAAF president. They are all locked up. I don't want that. So I have to play straight. Whereas IOC is concerned, I have to inform them, this is right, this is wrong. The betting guys are involved. There is nothing I can hide. Because today with the social media, everything, everybody knows what is happening. So it's foolish if anybody thinks that we can hide. So transparent is number one. Number two, you spoke about the children giving up and all. You know, it's a very interesting. When the children are playing, you need the parental support, which is very, very important. Very important. Without their support, it cannot go forward. But some of the parents live their life through their children. That is where they kill the children. Because for them, child must be a doctor, he must be a world beater. Moment that comes into play, then only the friction starts between the player and the parent, or parent with the federation. But they don't give a free hand to that child because they are trying to control, they are trying to live through the children, then the problem comes. So this may be one of the cases where they want the child to do very well here, because maybe we have to look at the background. So those are the lot of other problems that we are facing. As for the other Olympic sport, yes, as I told you, we are giving equal opportunity to all the sports. We are pushing them. We are checking every day what is going on. So as a result, if you Google next champ on our website, you know the players that are listed there. Their achievement is given. And also on top of that, we are telling any well-wishers who want to sponsor a player, want to contribute, you can go and contribute. We monitor here what is going on. It all goes through us. It's absolute transparent thing. It's a new app that we have formed. And on top of that, the idea is it's not like all the time going and asking sponsor to come. It's not easy, especially today's climatic condition, impossible. So we have started a program which will be launched within the next couple of days. It's a tree plantation. IOC is very keen that sustainability and environmental is one of the key, very important. So what we have done is written to all the IOC, Olympic house in the world, international federation in the world to buy one tree for $1,000. So that money comes to NOC. And we have got working on an app so that whoever who contributes can see the tree growing and their name will be there. So we are partnering Haley's, we have given the land. For them, they will get the carbon credit. We have no problem. We end the idea to get the money to support the athletes. It's very important. So that whoever wants $1,000 is nothing for a nation, just $1,000. So, but we have 210 Olympics, that is starting with 210,000 National Olympic. Then International Federation, they more than 100, more than another 1,000. So that's how you man, they are all happy. And minimum one, but they can buy more trees. Some done. So, and then we will get all these corporate. In fact, we are going to go for them also to invest. For Sri Lankans, they will invest $100. So that is the way we are thinking, because the bottom line is you need sponsorship. Number one. Number two, there must be fair play. There must be fair play. Number three, as administrators, we have to be dead honest. Whereas when the players come on to the field, they are only coming there to perform, not to satisfy the administrators. We don't get involved in that. If they are good, they may be anybody. They are allowed to even tell about us. That's okay. Us to behave. If we behave well, they are not going to talk about us. So don't take revenge. You've got to support them. You've got to support them. So if we can do these three, balance will fall in place. Balance will fall. Here some of the children are frightened even to say. They will give. I didn't have that problem. Anybody could talk to me, they could tell anything. Then only the moment they have that free, they are free with administrators. So those are the very important things. Coming to the sports like billiards and chess, unfortunately, they are not Olympic sports. So last Asian Games, you'll be surprised. My friend Ashanta came and spoke to me about bridge, because there was bridge taking place. So Ashanta wanted to send a team. So I said, come on, that's okay. You being I think he was the president or whatever. I said, recommend that team. I will send it. No problem. It's cost me nothing to go for the Asian Games. Do you know they couldn't select the team because there was so much fight? And now after that, I gave them free hand. You select the team and you come, I'll send you. They couldn't select the team, so team never went. So this is the problem.
So chess and billiards is not included?
No, chess, billiards. So no, like some of the federations, some of the Olympics or Commonwealth, depending which country they are hosting, they choose a sport of their preference. Now e-sport is an Olympic sport now. It's the Asian Games they had. Now next 2024 in Paris they are going to have it. It's a $1 billion sport.
What's that?
E-sport.
E-sport. Oh my goodness.
Gaming. Gaming. And also, if I remember right, 2028 even motorsport is going to come in. But they are all pressing. So only thing is, as far as Olympic is concerned, yes, we've got to give. If you remember in 2000 they had ballroom dance.
Yes.
Because Australia also like that. They give in, always try to bring in, try out, work. If it works, otherwise it doesn't work. So maybe one day billiards may come, I don't know. All depends how strong the federation is lobbying with the International Olympic Committee.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to touch on this aspect that Dan spoke about, parents not supporting the children, both gentlemen. Sports as a career. Sports as a career. Can we promote sports as a career to the parents? Because I'm sure most of the parents would prefer their children to study than to specialize in sports. Dan said about the Indian person, he became a world champion. One went to study medicine. The other problem we have is, can we say in Sri Lanka we have produced a sportsman or a woman who is now top class? Because many years back I saw some articles, even our silver medalist at the Olympics, there were some articles that she had problems living. So sports as a career, What are your views on maybe thereafter, Suresh? Sports as a career.
Yes, cricket has the same problem. I found, well, the cricket, the basic problem is only the top 30 has a chance of playing Sri Lanka. But what do we do with the rest? So really, we have to draw up a career development plan. Afterwards, first of all, the cricket board also started giving, in fact I proposed it in my strategic plan 25 years ago, each player in the Division 1 club should get for a year 10,000 rupees. It was a lot of money for it, but we paid that, we started paying that 10,000 rupees. Because now what has happened is when young boys want to go and play cricket, the parents say, same problem as you, no, what is the future? Study. You see? So we have to break this, and the only way to do this is make that, and also make them proficient in English. Then you can be commentators, you can be coaches, all that, I'm sure we have 50,000 cricketers in Sri Lanka, more than that. So, the sky's the limit. So you must show the parents and the students or the players, this is your path, career development path. When you're 35, you don't play for Sri Lanka. What can you do? So it's a sort of ongoing thing the board must have.
Is it happening now?
No,
It's not happening.
not that I know of.
So is there any plan to implement this? Because I think that's very important, because if a student goes to study engineering, medicine, law, they know, okay, 5 years down the line I'm going to practice, and this another 10 years down the line this is the job I'm going to have, and this is the income I'm going to get, I can have a good family. With sports, it's quite risky whether you'll get there. Huge question mark. In that case, will the parents take that chance?
Well, what I advise them is anyway have a degree behind you, like Sangat did. At some stage, if you can't do it soon as you leave school, and also the universities must give scholarships for people who are good at sports. That's how the American universities, correct me if I'm wrong, Suresh, they operate. They get the best sportsmen in there, and you get credit as a subject also. So do that together.
So Suresh, what are your views on this sports as a career for the future of Sri Lanka?
Yeah, you see, good old days, when I say good old days, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, lot of the sportsmen were from the university. I can remember Dr. Ture Raja, HIT, all of them. Because maybe the less number of people, but you must have a fallback situation.
Even Duncan White.
Yeah, much older, so I wouldn't know. Ture, living legend, so I know about Ture. So the fallback situation is, suppose while doing a sport you get injured, a serious injury whether you can't continue with the sport, they must have a fallback situation. That is number one. So as he said, they must, I think now in the university entrance they give 5 or 10 marks if you have colours or whatever. But I think they must bring in a scholarship form. Anyway, education is free now. So why don't you give free scholarship to the children? In fact, I recently proposed to the Honourable Minister to put a cabinet paper. During the war, we had the cabinet paper or whatever, where the soldiers, children were given top government school. I am saying that's fine. No. Sportsmen children also must be given. I said otherwise, some of these, I know for a fact, some of the golfers who are caddies, who are top golfers, their children have nowhere to go. No school. So they come to me, I am trying my level best. So it's very difficult. So there must be a slot allocated. So that guy knows my son or daughter will go in if I do well. That is
Incentive.
The incentive you are giving. If I do well, so I had told the minister, he said he will do it. So they must do it. So next week where both ministers are meeting, I'm going to propose again, so that the education minister and the sports minister, they do this. That's very important. And the other one is English. Now, let me tell you a very good example. I became the president of the Sri Lanka Tennis Association in 2002. The language spoke was English. As Anna said, the Malli, Ayya Malli story came. I had to summon them and said, no Ayya Malli here. You can call me sir, you can call me my first name, Ayya Malli. Same thing applies across the board. Anything is done in English. One of the great things I think I did is one day as a president I used to go first hour 7:30 to 8:30 till 9 I spend at the Tennis Federation. That is exactly what I am doing here also. The morning I spend, then I go for my business. One day when I walked into SLTA, there were 3 young boys seated outside. When I walked in, they got up. They spoke to me in Tamil. They were young tennis players from St. Michael's Batting Club. So I understood, but I replied in English. I said, "Why are you here?" Then in Tamil they said, A-level exam mudinji, amma appa anga irukka vendam. In other words, what they said is they have finished their A-level exam. Their parents have told you, don't stay here, go to Colombo. I asked them why. Tigers will constrict us. So I said, okay. Now I was put in a position that when I heard that I had heard, come on upstairs. You remember Lionel Almeida?
Yes.
I took him from Golf Club.
Yes.
I paid him and kept him there.
Yes.
He ran it. I said, Lionel, you have to help these guys to speak English. That's number one. Where Lionel could speak Tamil.
Planter?
And give them every opportunity that they can. But they have played school tennis, St. Michael tennis, not great as Colombo, but they play tennis. So I still remember the great Lionel put 3 chairs in front of his table and said, sit here in front of me. So any messages got email, gave them, you had to reply. So I said, look, you got to reply, it doesn't matter. Lionel will correct the English. You do what you want. You write the way you understand. Lionel will correct the English. So Lionel, email corrected. I told them free time, you have to up your tennis. Tennis courts are there. Nobody is playing from 9 till about 2 o'clock. You need to go and play. See, stand up. Today I am proud to say, these out of the 3, one of them got into religious activity. The other 2 are the highest qualified in Sri Lanka, and they are the highest qualified in the world in tennis. Done the exams in English. They are visiting lecturers in tennis, and they run 2 schools here. So I had told them, look, I gave the opportunity, they took it. All you guys, everybody must take that opportunity. So really, if like Anna, what I have done, if every president puts his head and say, I am there to do, there is enough they can. There is way of doing it. So today I can tell you my tennis coaches, they earn minimum ₹1 million a month. ₹1 million a month. 1 million.
Big money.
Yeah, coaching. Because tennis is so popular. There are certain schools outstation. I had made them, their PE practices tennis. I had given them equipment, they are playing tennis. So today I have at least 500,000 tennis players from the age of 10 going up. But moving higher is difficult because you need courts. The standard has to improve, which is very difficult outside. It's very costly. So some of them we have picked them up and brought them here, and they are in school. They are, they are at St. Thomas has given scholarship. Ladies have given scholarship for girls. Bishops have given scholarship, and the international schools have given scholarship. They brought them in.
But just off the bat, can you find a Rafael Nadal or a Roger Federer or a Bjorn Borg? Is there anything around like that? Is there? How do you pick them?
Now you are going into a very technical thing.
How do you pick
Let
them?
me tell you, we have the talent. As I told you, we have the talent. But tennis, the rules are different. Let me tell you, because I was involved in the junior committee of the International Tennis Federation, during my tenure as 2 years, I changed something like 11 to 13 rules which didn't apply for us. In a sense, tennis is run by the Grand Slam countries and the rich nations. So the rules are written for them. When I say rules, not the tennis rules, now as a Sri Lankan, before I took over, we could have host only one junior event for a year. Whereas we can go outside and play. Going and playing outside is very costly. How many can do? So I changed the rules. I told them, look, this is arcade and this is discrimination. A poor country can't have more than it. So I changed it. So they changed it. Now that is number one. So now we, not only we, anybody in the world could have any number of events. So I'm willing to help. So as a result, we were on the tourism side, we were having before COVID, every month we had one international tournament, and all the foreign players were put up at the cinnamon ride. We don't pay anything, they have to pay it. It's the individual sport, they pay because these are all international ranking tournaments. So I had a lot of juniors coming into the international rank. So like that, there are a lot of rules that you create. One other interesting thing I'll tell you, which I had done a lot of research. So when I go for international meeting, I had to go with arm myself so that I can get benefit. Leighton Hewitt, the Australian legend, got 12 wild cards for Grand Slam before he broke into a tour. Andy Murray got 18 wild cards before he broke. Not us, maybe 4 or 5 Asians. I'm talking the whole of Asia would have got wild card. 4 or 5, that's all. Maybe 1 wild card each they would have got. I was very proud. The 2 wild cards that I gave in 2002 or 2003 or 2002 was for 2004. Sania Mirza and Aslam Qureshi. Because in Australia became part of Asia. It goes as Asia, Oceania, Pacific international event. So I had to bargain. Look, we need to give wild card. So they gave 2 wild cards and these 2 got. And mind you, they went to the 4th round. Otherwise they would have never got. They would have never known.
A great start there.
Yeah, great. So now we have wild card with Australia, but with not other Grand Slam. But you know, ITF is very clever. So they put me as the Constitution Committee now, so that I don't create ask for more. They put me in the Constitution Committee. So again, I'm looking at it. You know, my another thing for us to go international, Anna, we have to promote our administrators to serve in the international federations, either in the Asian, because wild card
Exposure.
come. No, not like wild card is decision made in the boardroom. One for you today, one for me tomorrow. Then you say your country, somebody you do. So wild card decision. So some of the players are equal, but that little bit push comes in the boardroom. But I know the number of wild cards that I have given for tennis players. I know number of wild cards. Number of wild cards for other Asian countries. Because I was sitting as the Secretary General of the Asian
Decision
Tennis
comes in the
Federation.
boardroom.
In the boardroom. That is in the boardroom. They decide. So I am, in fact, these are few things I have told the minister, you must encourage, because unlike I could go for meeting because I am spending on my own, but you can't expect everybody. So the government must step in there for their benefit, with athletic, golf, or wherever. It's strange, you won't believe, Anna, Dan, I have been to many of the international federation after I took over as Olympic Committee. Some of the local federations have not gone to their parent companies. They have never visited. But they say, look, they have to pay us, we have to pay us for go. They are not go for the AGM, annual AGM. They don't. They don't know where the headquarters. They communicate on email, nothing more. So sometime at that level, the personal interest, personal relationship makes a huge difference. It's a must. It's a must. Without that,
Thank you very much. Following up on what Niranjan asked you, Anna, he asked you about the career path. But actually, cricket can be developed as an industry, no? Because as an industry, you will have so much, like coaching in tennis. How much can be done in cricket? You have the material, you have sales of that, then you have coaching, you have managers, you have fitness, so much. And there are African countries which you can send, even UAE, countries who are below the ICC test status, these people can make that a career path. Now I know level 2, level 3 coaches in Australia who are guys who played softball cricket team. Isn't that possible?
Good question, man. Yes, it's a big industry as it is at the moment. They have these coaching classes, even my next door to me, CCC grounds. Lionel Mendes, what's that, his brother? He also has both the men says, no, he has this thing, then cross the road again, the same ground, Sanat Jayasuriya's Cricket Academy, and it's the cricket academies, they are all over the country. So that's a very good thing. Plus, they must be told also, the ICC also has coaching level 1, level 2, level 3, like that. Also, then also there's umpiring you can get into, then you can get into match refereeing, all that. Commentating, so that's where the English is also very vital that they should learn. And some more people say, you know, when you are, if a player, a man either being the man of the match or captain or something, they say, no, it's okay if you speak in Sinhalese. But Pakistan has found that you have to, the whole world is watching. And if you want to put point across, you have to learn to speak English, whether you like it or not. Because Sinhala is only spoken in Sri Lanka. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. It's a big industry. So, golf is not. So, this is where the problem, because as I said, you know, golf is also very key. Because I always felt we have the best hand-eye coordination in Test cricket, because Adelaide University in 1995 did a test of the test playing countries under 13 to see their hand-eye coordination. Cricket playing country. And you know, Sri Lanka came on top. So we have the talent. And that's why I say only 3 sports, excuse me for saying this, Suresh, but I feel billiards and snooker and cricket and golf, in my book, we can reach the number 1 in the world. But you know, with the right nutrition and all that, we can get there. But you know, it takes some basic changing, you know, to do physical structure, but eventually, and short term, we can get that done. And it's a big industry. Look at golf. How many golfers are there? When I got into the golf union, there was only how many? 200. It's all members. Then I managed to work out a deal. I started the squads, national squad, the Dinamo squad. Allow them to play 3 times a week, great difficulty. And now I brought it up to, in the forces, I introduced that game to the forces. We got it up to about 600. Now I hear it's come down again to 200 activities. So I'm very sad that has happened. And also now, I think that you can take it up later. The golf union is non-functional at the moment. There's some problem with the sports ministry also. I had mentioned that to the sports ministry to take some action. But you know, we have to, and golf we can. I know the people.
Just to disturb you and to remind you, Anna, you are responsible to have brought Nandasena Pereira back into the amateur circuit, and you were there making him a national amateur champion in the region, and he won the silver medal in China. Can you touch a bit on that? You were successful there as well.
Yes, when I was in the 80s, I was the assistant secretary of the golf union, and I was on the committee of Royal Colombo. And I found when I was playing golf in Sri Lanka, these caddies, I'm not saying more, you know, without their shoes, they can beat me with 3 clubs. What am I doing here? Why am I playing for Sri Lanka? Let alone me, all the other players. So I said, this must change. So the only criteria that they had was international golf in the 80s. So I had to get them a handicap. And the rule was that you must have a handicap certified by the club. Golf Union didn't have the authority certified. So I went to Royal Colombo and said, look, these people should be playing Sri Lanka, not me. So can you give them a handicap? Then they turned around and said, because I was in the committee of the Royal Colombo, but they're not a member. So I said, then make them honorary member or just a member. I mean, if you want to charge a fee, I mean, I will arrange for it to be paid, but make them a member and give them a handicap. So then, you know, I won't mention the captain. In the 80s, he turned around and said, Anna, you're saying I have to sit down at the clubhouse and have a beer with the caddies. So I said, you're worse than apartheid. South Africa actually says you're black and you're white, and you're saying the same color, you don't have to want to have a beer together. So eventually I broke through. So eventually they allowed, and Diane said the rest is history. Nandasena went and won a silver medal in 1990. Then Anurohana went and won 2000 in the Asian Games. So, you know, the talent was there. unfortunately, I mean, I also, then after that, Raja became because we introduced the Grand Prix and I managed to convince the RNA to include our 12 tournaments in the RNA rankings. So we produced my year at the end. Thangaraja was third best golfer in Asia. High standard, not like cricket, there's a lot of countries playing. And he was 36th best golfer in the world. Amateur rankings, not junior list, amateur rankings. So, and he had the potential, then he turned pro and he did well in the Indian tour, as you know. And then, of course, the Golf Union didn't support them. I'm sorry to say, once they became pro. I also had that problem. They're saying they're pros. No, they're earning money. I said, no, we can't have another association. I asked the sportsman, he said, you can't have two associations, governing associations in our sports law. So I said, look, we have to help them. And giving the letters, all that. So then they said, okay, so unofficially I used to do help them and all that. And then when I went, there was no then mental aspect. I used to deal a lot with the mental side. I always believed it's a positive thinking. So Thangaraja, and we had a nice good coach who didn't know anything about golf, but he was a mentor like this thing. And we used to talk to him. He came to that level, but once that went, he had no one to talk to. So now I'm trying to arrange, like I had yoga classes going. A very good friend of mine called Gitan, who was coaching the St. Thomas's cricket team as well, mental side. And the golfer that who went to the American golfer who went to South Asian Games, the girl, yeah. So he's very good. So Tanga remembers that I took them to yoga. He said he was good. So I'm now I've got them to do the virtual. They are learning how to do it. So I thought your virtual thing also was good. So what you're doing now.
So Thanga is one of them I used to help because he's a good boy. He the one who told me his daughter, they are not giving a school for her. They rejected because it's so address. So I'm trying to, that's the reason I brought to the minister and said, look, you got to bring her money.
So just to put it in perspective, the Sri Lankan golf with very little resources, we have been successful to actually have 6 professionals playing in the Indian tour. And in the Indian tour, these professional golfers have won Indian tournaments beating all the Indians who come on that tour. So in the game of golf, it has been proved that Sri Lankans can make it. Cricket, we have proved it can be done. So end of the day, we are looking at the administrative fallacies that are blocking the progress of everything else.
Even now, I mean, for example, Nandasena's son Nithum, he won the Asian Amateur Championship. And I think Maxi went for that. Yeah, and he was very impressed. And
When was
at
that?
time, he won it in just before he turned pro
Ah, yes, in China.
in China.
That's right.
And
Yes,
he won that. which
I
was a
want,
great achievement.
I want to ask one question because I know all three of you are avid golfers. There is this perception in Sri Lanka that golf is for the elite and it's a very expensive game to play. This is the perception that I hear. I'm not a golfer, but the perception I hear, oh, golf, that's for the elite. It's a very expensive game. What is your feedback on that?
Suresh?
See, in my case, I took up to golf when other sports gave me up. So
That is when you could not hit the moving ball, you
yeah,
started
become
hitting the stationary.
stationary ball. So what happens is when you move to that level in your life also, you had got older, you had stabilized in your work environment, so you have money to spend on golf. So that is maybe one reason they say it's an expensive sport. Yeah, it is an expensive sport, no doubt. But the elite sport, today the things have changed. Even tennis is also considered elite sport, so much so that I don't know much about golf. We don't get any support from the ministry. When you go to them, no, tennis is the elite sport, you all have the money. I tell them, yes, I have the money, my committee has the money, but the children need. You see, we don't have the money to pump so much for the, court maintenance, like that. Every sport has its drawback. So I think after I got involved in the Olympic, I have a very close rapport and connection with the ministry. It is sad, over the years, out of the budget that is allocated by the government of Sri Lanka for Ministry of Sport, more than 20-30% is returned every year. Not used. Do you believe that? Not used.
What a waste.
So that is because one is waste. Another thing is none of the federation, you can't blame only them, didn't have a plan or a budget. Now, every year from the Olympic Committee, the 34 sports have to produce their budget to us. We in return give it to them. Of course, we tell them, look, you deal with the sports directly. So we make sure that they all,
So now you are monitoring them.
we are monitoring them, we tell them what to do. It's very, very important. If they find it difficult, our accountant helps them what to do. Because one of the reasons difficult is some of the federation only 2-3 people are there. They can't afford. So it's very, very difficult. They can't afford. The moment you have more people, then it's a lot of work. And sadly, except 4 sports or 5 sports in this country, they don't have an office. They don't have an office. So every minister, the last 3 years I'm involved, I have spoken to Dayasri Jayasekara, Harin Fernando, Faisal Mustafa. Everybody said they will try their level best, but they could not. At least this minister had come forward and said he will give me land in Sugadadasa for us to find a way. Unfortunately, with this pandemic, I can't organize a sponsor. Otherwise, if they are giving a 99-year land, I'm sure where I want to put up a building for the administrators. All of them can be housed in one place. That's the least we can do, end of the day, that is important.
So excellent. Now we have a very final question for Anna. Anna, can you give the prescription and medicine for what should be done with Sri Lanka cricket now?
Right now.
Yes.
It's a quick fix, is it?
No, tell us, because
You want us to-
you
Because-
wanted a 5-year term and they removed you within 2 weeks of after you won the World Cup.
Right.
So-
Because this is the ideal time, because I think the minister himself has said that it's time for a shake-up in cricket. So what is the shake-up that you would like?
Shake up. Okay. First of all, discipline. That's has to start from the top. Set an example, and all the players must be disciplined, as Ray said. There's no exception. I'm happy that even as it's Olympic sport, university also will get involved in that. Discipline. And you're not playing cards when during a match going on and blah blah blah. And the physios and the top board, all that. So that's one. Then number 2 is they have to get a mentor. So I find a lot of sports in Sri Lanka, motivator, mentor. They don't have. And I was surprised in cricket, that once a foreign coach said, they said, you need to get mentally this thing, it's very important. And this thing, he said, well, that's not my job as a manager. And I can remember Dav, when he first came to Sri Lanka, he told Anna, I can't teach the Arjuna and Arvind as a cover drive and the hook. They know how to do that. But I can teach them this. 90% of this up here. So we need that. Of course, we need nowadays, we need someone who can speak Sinhalese. So I'm sure there are psychologists and all that. I heard the ministry also has sports ministry. We all have one.
Yeah.
We must have that. And going on tour, not just take them for a camp. He must be there all the time. This must be part of the backup team. I mean, we have fielding coaches, we have batting coaches. Dav also told me, I spoke to him the other day, and I said, Anna, it's crazy, what they're doing? That time, there was only Alex and myself, he said. There are too many. That's our job to teach that also. So,
Get the right people.
Yeah, get the right people and put the mentor. I mean, that's, I think, 50% of the problems will be solved. And also reduce the gap between first class cricket and school cricket.
So Siddharth Jettimuni was talking about constitutional change. Are you
Yes.
agreeing with that?
Yes, I completely agree, because you have 147 votes, the highest in the world. India with 1.5 billion had 107. Then they went to courts, the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court ruled, yes, you must bring it down to 30. So then they appointed an interim committee for 2 years. And ICC says you can't have interim committee, but if India asks for it, they get it. We didn't get it. But if we also put our foot down and said, look, we want it, because you can never go to the cricket board, have an AGM and get 2/3 majority for clubs not to reduce their voting power. Because at the moment they are paying, cricket board is paying money for grounds for clubs that don't play cricket doesn't have a ground.
How many of them are there?
Who like that?
Yes.
Who doesn't play cricket?
Yes.
That you'll have to ask Shami. All the cricket boards or cricket board. How many are there? That's been all along. Not only he's not at fault.
No, I'm saying
yeah. So we
that's
have to.
that's a huge problem.
Yeah, we have to change the number of clubs, and we must make the Premier Division, the provincial system should be the first one, because Siddharth actually says we don't have a, you're suddenly from club cricket you're put into Test cricket. That's a huge gap. And we have how many first class clubs? 28.
So you're talking about Ranji Trophy in India.
Yeah, everywhere. Sheffield Shield in Australia, 8 in England. So you must have minimum of 8 to 14 clubs. And in the provincial tournament, also I suggest that you don't what they have time to do is they get the top 60 players, have 5 provinces divided by this thing. Each one has say 15 squad, but it's the same players from Colombo or people who have come to Colombo. I said we must put a rule like the IPL did, that 2 people from the province must be in the squad at least, playing or not, but they are among the best they learn. If not, and also I suggested that really provincial cricket must be given autonomy. There should be delegated task by the board to do the board's job there, and you find good presidents for each of those provinces. You can have past presidents, and then the businessmen tell them, right, you find the funds. It's easy to, you go to the top companies, international companies in Sri Lanka and say, oh, this is my budget, as Suresh says, give them a good budget and show them, they will respond. So make them self-sufficient. And board also must say, board can pay the players fee, if they come in the first division or whatever, like that. So that has to happen. So that is long term, but we have to spread the game also.
Another one thing, when you were there in the early 90s, you supported a lot of school cricket. Now that gap is there, no? What has happened to school cricket?
Yeah, like someone told me when I took over, it's like building a house. The foundation we always had, because we were the best school cricketing country in the world.
Yes.
And the Tennacoons and the Thisera also played.
Noidas and
Yeah. Then Gamlin Sanak came along and got ICC status. So the wall was put. So then they said, all I did was put the roof. And players did, they put the roof. So now the whole thing has collapsed. Foundation also we need. So you can't have a quick fix like the minister says, okay, but it has to. We start with the school cricket. The coaches are not paid enough.
So it's an overall thing.
Coaches are not paid. All the talented cricketers don't get into their first team, even in under 13, because they are the rich parents who pay the coach. The coaches get paid 15,000 rupees. So I'm not taking the coaches wrong. I mean, how can you survive with 15,000 rupees? So the parents say, right here, another 15. My son, he can play, in the first team. So how many good talented players are, they are never getting, that boy gives up playing cricket. So
That's a terrible situation. But I have another question. Why is it that players who have the name, who don't have fitness, why are they selected and in the first day they are injured and we are playing 10 people inside? And at the end of the day, we are all out with 9 down or 8 down.
So there's some controversy there, no? They're saying they were paid off.
Who was paid off?
The physio and the guy, there's a guy who passes the fitness test.
So can they be continued?
It's all
Under
right.
NOC you won't continue them, right? So why can't we do something about this?
That's the reason NOC is fully involved now. Now, in fact, today I have a very controversial meeting this evening.
So we wish you luck and hope that sense will prevail and the DNA platform will be the first to share the news that you have solved the problem.
I try my best. What is right is might. There is no shortcut for anything. First, discipline must come and I suggest from the top downwards. And when they know the top is discipline, all the others fall in line.
So I think we'll speak on behalf of DNA Lifestyle Platform. I think we are here to make Sri Lanka World Champions. We are here to make things happen, and we would like to look to the young sports minister who is also Thomian, and that's my school, and I hope he will keep our alma mater flying and make sure that the best is done and the right thing is done. If that can happen, with administrators of your caliber getting involved, even on a voluntary basis, I think we can pull this.
The current sports minister is the only one, the last chance we have.
Absolutely.
When you have an uncle who's the president and
Father is
who's
the-
the this thing, if he can't
And he has
do
played
it-
for Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
No,
and
that's
he's a
right. It is
sportsman.
not only that, he
He has
himself
played for Sri
Lanka.
played
And he has
Sri
gone to the best
Captain.
school
Captain.
in the country.
All that is by the way, but yeah, and then he has a great chance and he's determined
Yes.
to do it.
Yes.
So I mean that is a great.
So
thing.
we'll all be behind him to do that.
We have to, but I have one little question. When 4 big bigs are put in one committee to do, how much will it be done? You know, let me ask you, after, I know because I was going for this meeting today. Which was
So, but you're one of the big wigs, then it's okay.
No, that technical committee.
Technical committee.
Technical committee.
Yeah.
They are saying no, but too many cooks spoil the soup.
Yes.
Too many cooks.
You can't have 4 leaders in one.
Yeah.
So my worry, you see, I have been checking on the selectors of rest of the world, that is 8 nations. None of them are past champions or legends in their country. England, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, West Indies. No big, they have played 4-2 tests. I went through every detail of this. India. Only recently Chetan Sharma is brought in, who had played 58 test matches and 5 ODI. Here we are trying to bring the legends in. When too many legends get in, I'm not sure how it's going to work.
They're all personality on their own.
That's right. That is what I'm worried.
Personality clashes can
Personality clashes, and also they are, because they are good, they set a bar which is very high.
Very high.
So you need to move,
Gradually.
and also their bar is very high. Everybody looking up to them.
So what Mr. Munjeva did when you were president, making the manager and chairman selectors the one person, has he changed now?
They had that.
Yes.
They had Asanta Dimel was the manager and selector.
Okay, so that doesn't seem to have
Chairman or
worked.
selector and not selectors, chairman or selectors. Well, it depends who's in charge. You can make it work. Nothing is impossible. It's a good concept.
Concept is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have come to the end of the show today, and closing remarks we would like to have from you, Suresh, and then from Anna. What are your thoughts, and what do you think we have a role to play? We feel that we have a role to play, and we want this to happen. And what do you think we could together, collectively do with being the voice of the people? How can we go forward with helping you in your task, you in your task, and together Sri Lanka as a whole?
First of all, thank you very much for giving us an opportunity, especially the very first one. And the way forward, our views are highlighted all over. And I'm sure you need to get the public also to make a comment. There are certainly the public will also have very knowledgeable
This
people.
is the platform we are opening them to.
They will certainly will come up with certain comments which are very, very useful. Then we got to take those comments in good spirit.
Yes.
Somebody may condemn me, but I should not be, must take it in good spirit. If we can take on good spirit, because we Sri Lankans, I find, we have an ego problem.
Yeah.
We have a
Serious.
huge ego
Serious
problem.
problem.
Big ego problem.
I'm telling you, it is very, very sad. Some of them told me why I don't use the president's room. I said, look, I don't need to use president's room. I want to sit with the staff because I had to check what is going on so that my job is faster and I run off. If I'm sitting, so there is that problem is there. To me, I came to do a job of work. It's a honorary. You said now voluntary. We have been always volunteers. Sure, Anna is a volunteer. I am a volunteer. We spend whatever we can for the betterment of the sport. The other one is sad to say, which I had brought up at the meetings also. Cricket, if I may say, there is corruption. I'm sorry to say, in the administration. As a result, there is a blanket by the Ministry of Sport. All federations are corrupt. None of the other federations have money, They have no money. I get I had to pay 100,000 rupees salary to the staff for tennis federation. It is is coming out of the committee members pulled together, or we are putting the money to pay because we have no money there. We have no money. So cricket has to take a lead. That will change the whole. So the entire thing now
Change the ball game.
revolving around cricket. Because whether we like it, it's not the national sport, but it's like a religion. It's a fifth religion in this country.
Yes.
This is the fifth religion. So everybody unite behind cricket. So there we have to change. If that is done, in fact, I remember a couple of years ago, I made a proposition in India to the Indian Tennis Federation. BCCI is one of the biggest. They are bigger than the Indian budgets, I think, their money. So I told the Indian president, all the other sports federation must get together and tell Indian cricket board, 10% of your sponsorship you must distribute to all the other sports. Because everybody wants to sponsor cricket. So they collect the money. Pass it down because all the other sports
Very
also
good
must
idea.
So India is doing it now.
Fantastic.
I wish our cricket board also does, because then we have no problem. Let everybody sponsor cricket because everybody loves cricket. Then pass it down.
But
to the
10% is a
other-
great
I think
idea.
that's a great idea.
Pass it down to the other sport. Because then the other sport, because if, for instance, if karate goes, nobody is interested in sponsoring karate. But do you know there is more than 200,000 children participating in karate?
Yeah, I have seen it. Schools
In
also.
schools, yeah.
Very important.
Very important.
As a self-defense and a discipline.
Yeah, discipline. End of the day,
Oh,
discipline
yes.
and also the sports unite. Very important. Sports unite. Everybody is united. In fact, I remember somebody saying when we were playing the World Cup, even Prabhakaran was watching that. I read it in the paper, so it's great. Everybody should unite under the,
Thank you. So,
Sri Lanka.
Anna, what's your take?
On yes, you are doing a great service, I think, to all sports. DNA or DNA. You call yourself. It's great. Thank you. So they said his words and say thank you for inviting us for the first edition. And you all can play a good part, as you said. Get the common-man's reserve. And also you were mentioning that you're going to go into awareness programs,
Yes.
which is very important for sports. It really is. If you can get all the cricketers to meditate for 20 minutes a day, you'll find a big difference also. And mental. So that will be something I'll watch very keenly, the program of that.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. It has been very useful. This has been the first episode of our program, and I think we've covered so much, which I think should be very useful to the Sri Lankans, and we encourage everyone watching this clip to send us your comments, send us your feedback, so that we can then decide on the way forward. Chad?
And we hope our basic purpose is this is a platform and this is for us. So let your voice be heard. Ask questions, give us your suggestions, and even there was a suggestion by somebody to have a independent, they called it a independent lobbying group where we can appoint from the public, so that they will be part of we will be just the moderators, they will be the watchdogs of each sport. Because there are so many who are interested in different sports. So if the public, you have an interest in a certain sport, you know what's happening, what's going wrong, tell us, we will form a body for you and give you the voice to solve the problems in any of the sports. I have understood that even basketball, the same infiltration of the coaches is happening in the selection of the basketball team. So every sport there will be people who are not getting their chance or opportunity to play. So we at DNA, we want to have the opportunity given to all those who have been rejected. So basically we want to throw out a solution to cricket first. As Mr. Suresh said, we want to give the 3R solution to cricket. And that is, the first R is if you were rejected at any point, that you were unable to play for Sri Lanka and you thought you were deserving to play, please write to us immediately and send your credentials. The second R comes in, we will rejuvenate you within 6 months. We will rejuvenate you and give you to retry to play for Sri Lanka in the next 6 months. So this is a challenge we are prepared to take. People might ask, how are we going to do it? We have the resources here. And if I were to ask you for advice, you will give the advice. You tell us what to do, we will find what has to be done. The people will help us to do it, and then we may have a rejuvenated squad of cricketers who might beat our first test team. And that is my dream in 1 year. And that will shake up anything. What do you think, sir? Is it possible or not possible? You want the World Cup in 1 year with a 5-year cricketing plan. So I am giving a 1-year plan saying I will have a team of rejects who never played for Sri Lanka to beat the Sri Lanka test team that they select and give us. We'll beat them in 1 year.
That's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Because there are cricketers out there who won't be injured and who will play the 5 days. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, they will run for a ball, they'll stop, and the 30-40 runs you said they'll save on the field, they are fit enough to save.
And also they should be mentally strong.
Yes. And we do that because we are corporate trainers and we work with the mental side. And I also have been involved with building golf professionals, and we have done it in golf, we can do it in. So, sir, our invitation to you, to the NOC, don't hesitate. It's one call away. Call us if you want something highlighted, if you want something supported, anything. We are there to be your voice and to bring the voice of the people onto the same platform.
So thank you very much, Diane, for inviting us, and may I wish you every success moving forward. And let's work as a team to make Sri Lanka sports better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for watching us.
Are you travelling to Sri Lanka? We are fully geared to assist with all your travels. Classic Sri Lanka, your trusted travel partner.